When did you first play Batman Arkham Asylum?
I think I must have played it maybe first time in 2000 and maybe 19. Oh no, actually no. Yes, scratch that. It was actually 2020. I remember actually now, because I wanted to just because during the lockdown, because when lockdown happened, I just needed to occupy myself, so I decided to play them games because as well because it actually just happened after my birthday, so I had birthday money, so I just thought, why not?
What did you like about the game, and was there anything that you disliked?
I definitely liked the whole atmosphere of the game. It kind of felt a bit kind of like a thriller game because it had all those different jump scares in there. Obviously, I liked how we get to see loads of different characters and all the Riddler trophies and Riddler riddles. We all get to see references to all different characters, even some that actually aren't even in the Arkham games. But it's still kind of cool to see them. But I didn't really I just felt a bit like the ending was a bit weak. Because and the final boss fight and also the boss fights throughout, they just seem kind of all similar.
I mean, you've got to fight for it. I know someone mentioned it as a joke, saying, how long did it take Riddler to put all 243 riddles in Arkham Island, and it took Batman a few hours to go collect them all. No, and it's always whether, I don't know if it was for everyone, but sometimes when you're collecting them and you can hear him panic more and more, that's enough of an incentive to keep on collecting them. Because I know a lot of people go, oh, okay, I've collected about 50. What's the point?
Yeah.
But the end, I know some people will be like, oh, it's a bit of a...
Yeah, a bit of it is kind of cool, funny, because you get to hear him get tasered by the police.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess it just kind of you would expect maybe a bit of a boss fight. You could see he was in a certain part of Arkham City all along, and you actually need to have all of the Riddler trophies to get in there, or alternatively something else like that. But it's the other ones as well. The in Arkham City, you kind of what they did with it, how you have to collect a certain amount of trophies to free different hostages. What I liked about that is how it kind of gives you more motivation to do it, because you kind of want to complete it. But also at the same time, but they didn't you have to you don't have to collect every single one of them to find the Riddler. I'm pretty sure you only have to collect 400 of them, and then you can just leave it at 400 and not get the other 40. I guess it would depend on who you are as a gamer if you want to collect the rest of them. Yeah. And then obviously in Arkham Knight, you can either collect them all first, then do the Riddler missions first, then collect them after, or just do them as you go along.
Mm-hmm.
And then you actually get a final boss fight with him in that big mech machine thing. So I kind of like how they kind of kept on developing his the Riddler trophies throughout the different games.
Yeah, I remember with Arkham City, of course, it used to originally be 400 before the DLC with Catwoman. And so we finished it, you beat Riddler, and then when we played the Game of the Year edition, it ended up having 441.
Yeah.
Seriously, another 40? But you don't realise at first, you can collect a few of the Catwoman ones and those count, you just need to hit the 400 mark, but no one knew that at the time.
Yeah, I don't know why, I just didn't really like that whole Catwoman stuff. It just didn't, I like the Catwoman side bit, but it's just the Catwoman trophies just sometimes did my head in, because when you're running about trying to find them all, because some of the criminals have guns, and Catwoman's obviously, you can't upgrade her armour as much as Batman's, and obviously, Batman, you can just zip away, where Catwoman would actually have to run away, meaning she'd be a bit more susceptible to damage.
I mean, it doesn't help if you try and speedrun through Arkham City's story, because of course you're upgrading Batman, you're completely ignoring Catwoman,
exactly, yeah,
and by the end of it you're like, oh no.
Yeah, especially when you have to have that little kind of mini boss fight between Poison Ivy and her stuff, her mind control people, and then you obviously get the multiple different Tiger guards when you get into Hugo Strange's vault.
And then it's Two-Face at the end, which is...
Yeah, oh god. And you can't it's not like some of the other ones where you could just take out all of his men and then just go straight for Two-Face. You actually have to, because for some reason I've noticed it did my absolute head in. They kept on just...
they respawn.
Yeah, they kept on just spawning back in, so you have to kind of wait until he's either alone or something, or at least there's not that many guards left to attack him.
I know with like Catwoman, it also something which I think started to annoy me more recently is Joker's death. That should be it.
Yeah.
The moment Batman walks out, and then you have the end credits. That should be it. But then we have that Catwoman scene, which
Yeah.
once you played it through, like first time, like the first time I played it through, that's the ending. That was the definitive ending, and you just say like that, like, did that just happen?
Yeah, and then you got that final bit with Catwoman.
But then the next time we did it, we had Catwoman. Like, granted, first time you play through, it's like, oh yeah, that's great. I do have to wonder. There's nowhere else he could have put it in there, and also there's another one which I think I saw someone make a video say the Catwoman missions do ruin the pace a bit of the game because Protocol 10 happens and then you go back to Catwoman. I know they had to add her in at some point, but would it have been smarter to have that section, I don't know, after...
Maybe just as like with that Harley Quinn's Revenge thing, maybe have that as a separate DLC.
Mm-hmm. Have it where you can make the decision and have them as their own little episodes, or you put it after the Penguin in the Museum.
Yeah.
You do that after Penguin in the Museum, you skip the part of Protocol 10 until later on, where you could have had it as an Arkham episode. See, it would work better as episodes because...
Yeah, like in Arkham
Knight,
yeah, because it would just be like the same to just say like after Bruce Wayne's manor gets blown up, then you have to play the Red Hood story mission, the Two-Face with Robin story mission, the Catwoman story mission, the Nightwing story mission. You know, it just doesn't feel like the end.
It ends up ruining that story because the first time, like I remember, the first time you finish all of Nightfall. Granted, there's probably a few people who thought that was not the ending because some people just thought, right, being Scarecrow, I'm not doing 100%, I cannot be bothered. You have to do it, like...
Yeah, to get that ending. I kind of like how they did that, though, because, you know, I guess it kind of makes you feel more inclined to do it, but, you know, I mean, because I'm always going to be like those 100% gamers where I kind of, depending on the game, because, like, you do see games like Assassin's Creed...
Valhalla.
Yes,
too long. I'm not doing
exactly.
300 hours of random monasteries. No, I give up.
Yeah, I know. It just that's just too much effort to go into. Like that's why sometimes I do try and do it in the story just to try and get me a bit more closer to it. So then maybe when it does come to it, I don't have to spend as much time. But either way, even all the games, like even basically all the other games in the series, it's just so hard to get all the collectibles because of how like tedious it can get.
Yeah, I remember Unity. I think I've collected 55% of all the chests in Paris, and that took 5 hours. And I'm there like, I can't be bothered doing another 5.
Same thing with Syndicate.
Yeah.
Especially with as well Black Flag. Like I love the game; it's my favourite, but the amount of chests that you have to find and all the treasure maps and it just gets so...
I get to a point where I'm like, yeah, okay, I've done enough where I've had my enjoyment of the game. If I do any more, I'm going to start to dislike it and I don't want to do that. It'll be interesting with Mirage. I will see if I'm going.
Yeah, I saw that trailer last night. It was so good. It looks like it actually looks pretty good. I like how like there are different stealth options now as well. Like when one of Basim's mentors said you can either bribe the guards or sneak in.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's the roots of Assassin's Creed. That's the game I want to play. No offense, I don't want to just be a Viking that isn't an assassin in any way.
The Odyssey and Valhalla kind of went more into like the actual Isu, you know. People like before the Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I spent more time with them as being the ones that came before, and then randomly it got changed to Isu. Yeah. And I remember hearing Isu, I'm like, what's Isu? And then finding out.
They're supposed to be like those higher life forms.
Yeah, there'll always be one thing that really annoys me. With, like, the story is basically going, Juno's going to come back and attack. That'll probably be the finale. And then they ended up killing her in a comic. I was like, okay, yeah. That's why she vanished. Because she's at the end of Syndicate. Like, it was during the World War One missions.
Where you, like, your players... the granddaughter of Jacob Fry,
Yeah.
and you have to find you have to kill another sage. I don't know if that's supposed to be the same guy from
I think it
Black
is.
Flag, yeah.
But then where the sage is gone now? Because that was like they were showing this thing and now the sages are
Well,
back.
Bassin is technically a sage.
Yeah, that's the first one. That'll be interesting. I want to see how they do that. Because I'll be honest with you, I got to a part in Valhalla and I just gave up. It's that and Odyssey are the only two I've never finished. Because I
Story-wise, I have, but like...
I got to 50 hours, I'm like, am I near the end? No? Like, when I'd only just met, I can't remember, I just met, I think we just lost the apple to Basim, and they're like, oh, okay. That's too many hours. And then I looked at the map, I'd done half the map, I'm like,
Yeah.
no. Maybe one day, maybe just before Mirage, I might go back to it, because, granted, I just pleased, like the parkour also, it looked back to a bit like Ezio, and I think it was in Assassin's Creed 3 and 4, where you get on things and it swing round.
Yeah, there's like a new one.
The pole one.
Yeah, the pole one where that actually looks sick. So, according to the developers, they are kind of more trying to go back to their roots. So I reckon it will be kind of more RPG, where you actually have to press the button, the joystick down to run. But I feel like the parkour and stuff will feel a bit more smoother.
Yeah, I have realised you're supposed to press down the joystick to run. I definitely still don't just press right trigger in A and joystick.
I know.
I know it's changed.
It's like when you're coming from a new game, it's just your muscle memory, isn't it? Your muscle memory just develops.
I had to change the attack buttons in. It started with Origins because there's certain buttons, like I think they wanted you to use right trigger and stuff.
Yeah,
I hate it because I use it to run, so I changed them to Y and X. Granted, I have probably lost certain mechanics in certain games because I've done that. Because Jedi Survivor recently, I had to change certain buttons round because they just irritated me. I think it was the block button. It's supposed to be left button. I thought left trigger would work better, but then I kept on losing the grapple. So I had to slowly but surely learn how to use left button. Which I think by the end I had, but it was too much for me. Right, so now this section, because it's the first episode, it will be questions of the first 30 minutes of the game. So, when the game starts with the Batmobile, how does this set the tone of the game?
I feel like it does easily kind of set the tone of the game when you see it's all rainy. The game, you see it quite as like proper rough city because it's all got, you see all the trash bags and all the bins and stuff, and you can see Batman just brooding there and just joking. You can see him all all locked up and stuff. So it's kind of cool. Like, it does set up as being like this kind of dark, gritty kind of tone.
I mean, I know because when I was looking back at this, I was looking at the first few scenes. There's little things like the clouds disappearing and you're thinking it's the moon and it's the bat signal. It then goes down, you see neon lights of Polly's Diner, which is interesting that they reused it in Arkham Knight to start that game.
Yeah, I kind of like that though.
And very quickly it's established that it's Gothic.
Yeah.
It's all the buildings, you have the gargoyles.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so we know what version of Gotham City it is, so we'll understand the version of Arkham Asylum. As we see the Asylum for the first time, what were your thoughts?
Sorry. I definitely thought it was like quite creepy and kind of cool. It kind of does set, like, it did set the tone for the game. Like, I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is gonna be like, I'm gonna get scared in this game because, like, it's, like you say, it looks quite old-fashioned and quite Gothic, but like, and you see inside though, obviously it has tried to modernise it a bit with those like laser door things, but like I said though, it still looks quite old-fashioned and stuff, so it's quite creepy.
Something I didn't realise until recently, if you look at the Asylum when they show it, it is, like, most of it is correct. Like, you can see intensive treatment, botanical gardens, you can see the mansion. There is a whole section that just does not exist once you get into the game, which I believe a developer mentioned there was supposed to be a whole other section, and there was supposed to be an incineration plant, and then they just decided to scrap it, and it looks like they use those assets for the steel mill in Arkham City.
Okay.
Because you can see it, I didn't realise until recently, but you can see these two pyres. I'm like,
I've never noticed that.
yeah, because you're looking at the aside, it's like, oh, that's cool. And then this time I just caught it, I'm like,
Yeah.
that's strange. I wonder what that's about. Like, I think I would have been able to see those pyres at some point. Because, like, at the top of the mansion, you can pretty much see around the island. Of course, when we first walk through the asylum, there's certain characters you meet in the first 8 minutes, which, through its little rundown, it's people like Killer Croc. You have a little thing with Aaron Cash where it's hinted at what happened to his arm.
Yeah.
You meet the Warden for the first time, Frank Bowles, who's of course a character who's barely in it, but it's enough to hint. What do you think the setup for the characters are like in that first 8 minutes?
I think it's actually really good because, like, you can tell, like, when you first meet Frankie Bowles, obviously he's quite aggressive with Joker, so you can kind of connote that. Maybe he's like one of those, maybe he's like not a really good guard, like he's not a good person. And obviously you see Killer Croc for the first time, like he looks like an actual monster, because usually in other games and stuff, when you've seen him previously, like the Lego Batman game, he's just normal size, like the same kind of thing as like literally, but obviously yeah, but because it is Lego, but you know, but you wouldn't really expect Croc to be that big. Like you're actually thinking, wow, he's actually a monster. With Aaron Cash, obviously, you know, you kind of get the step. You obviously do like see that he's got the claw hand, and you can tell like he is quite respected because how people do listen to him and stuff. And Warden Sharp, you can definitely tell like there's something a bit going on with him. I don't know what it is, but you know he does seem suspicious from the get-go. I don't know if that's just me or just
Something else I didn't, of course, you don't catch on your first time, and you only catch after Arkham City, if you're listening carefully, is he says, I can't have another breakout, it will destroy my mayoral campaign, which of course we know in Arkham City ends up becoming the mayor.
Yeah.
And it's those little lines where it's hinted at in this game, but you think nothing of it, especially after the breakout. You're thinking, well, that's over.
Yeah.
And he shows his arrogance very early on, and you can see Batman does not care.
Yeah.
He just walks right past him and he's like, something's not right, I'm going with him. But of course, something else in those 8 minutes is the Joker pretty much explains his escape plan.
Yeah.
So, what did you think of his escape plan?
I thought it was like quite smart, to have that whole. I can't remember if it was a riot or like I think it was a fire at Blackgates, which led nearly all of his men. It led nearly all of his men to have to be placed in Arkham Asylum. So obviously it gave him the opportunity to break out with help and stuff and kill all the guards in there. So it's actually pretty clever. It kind of just shows how how smart the Joker is.
Doesn't matter, we can edit this in a minute.
Yeah, Fran's doing something, I think, with Charlie.
Right.
Because I don't know why
just stay here, I guess, until whatever that sound effect is. It sounds like you're trying.
Anyways, what's the next question?
Can't wait to go through this and remember this happened. The next one is just the next parts of the game. I set up for a tutorial. How do you think the game handles it? So we'll go through that in a minute.
For a radio room, it's not very sound blocking, is it?
No, it's awful at sound blocking.
Pretty sure I remember when I was doing I had to make a podcast thing, or a podcast, I can't remember, it was a podcast for the Unit 5.
Yeah.
When I was recording my stuff, Jesus, my mates kept on Right, they put the phone right to the bottom of the thing so it would come through. Oh, I was doing my editing. Luckily, eventually this just stopped because that's when everything needed to get done for everyone else, so, yeah. I just couldn't turn it down, could they?
It's almost as if Franz forgot. Like, if Fran asked, why has it took so long? I go, oh, I don't know. You were playing We Will Rock You.
Yeah, innit? I think it's done now. So what?
I hope so.
Yeah.
If it isn't, we'll just do it again.
Yeah.
As the Joker escapes and we are thrust into our first combat section, what were your thoughts?
I definitely thought it was quite cool because, that's when we actually finally start to get to fight the criminals and stuff. I do feel like it was quite, it wasn't as like good as I was expecting, because I did feel like the combat felt a bit clunky, a bit, but overall it was good as well, because it kind of does, it's kind of like a good way to introduce you to a tutorial on how to fight the different criminals and stuff, so it was pretty good.
As the next part of the game is a setup for a tutorial, how do you think the game handles it?
Which part of the game is it?
So this would be, so when we get to Zaz, you have little stealth element, and then after it you have the Joker gas. Those two things.
Yeah, I do feel like that's kind of good, because I feel like it does teach you about, it does like give you a quick little rundown of how to use stealth, how to use the gargoyles to evade detection, and with the Titan, it does teach how to fight them, which is very useful because they're like the only boss fights throughout the whole game.
This one will work both with the first boss battle, so this is the Titan boss battle, but then we'll also talk about the cutscene in a minute, which resides over it. So, first time we see the Titans, what was your thought? Because of course at this point, you don't know how many there's going to be, and you see this monster for the first time. It's like,
yeah, I thought it was well weird, because I remember because there's like a weird little side effects when their bones actually start coming out of their bodies, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was because it really that's grim, that. Plus, but also at the same time I was thinking, oh god, I'm gonna have to fight Bane, aren't I? Because it clicked in my head that this must also have something to do with Bane, because of, his Venom stuff. So I was thinking, Joker ain't this ain't going to be like some weird thing with Joker's just managed to develop this random thing. This is come from Bane or something.
I mean, when with the first Titan one, there's a little thing which not everyone knows, where you cannot die. No matter how hard you try, you cannot die at that section.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, actually.
It hits you over and over and over, and when you're on that last sliver of health, it will always have a heart attack.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in TikTok.
Yeah.
You still feel like it's just
wrong to be hit that many times.
Yeah, especially as Batman.
But I think speedrunners figured out it's like 1 second quicker than jumping, so they just allow themselves to be hit multiple times. Because for some reason, what it does is once it hits you, it only needs to hit you one more time. Instead, it'll do the ground pound, which does absolutely nothing to you for some reason. But it does usually. Normally takes a tiny bit of health. It does nothing this time. Because the game going, hold on, you're not supposed to die here. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you can't be this bad. Are you okay? Because the cutscene which happens right after it is the Joker gives Batman a choice.
Yeah,
knock him off, kill him, that's it, done. No game. Joker's gone. A lot of people will live. But of course, this is where Batman's no-kill rule comes in. What do you think about his rule?
I like it because, if you watch any other version of Batman that kills, most of the time, he kind of goes off his head, because like in the CW version, for example, when there's that Elseworlds thing, when they have to visit different universes, you find out Batman started killing. Yeah. Also, actually like how they use Kevin Conroy for that. But Batman started killing. He killed the Joker. He killed Mr. Freeze, all that, and then he even killed Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, I don't like the idea of Batman killing. Unless he had not even unless he has to, because that's what I like about him, how he never breaks his one. Well, most comics he never breaks his own rule. And even when he does, like in there's the Killing Joke, isn't there?
Yeah.
He becomes a monster, like an actual monster who tries to destroy like the entire multiverse.
It's one of those where it says if he starts killing, he will be worse than all those villains put together.
Because as well, especially we would be because he's holding back against these villains. Like he could kill these villains if he wanted to. You know, Mr. Freeze is simple, destroy his suit, just put him out in the heat, all that stuff.
That's something actually from Rocksteady in Arkham Knight when you have to pick one of the scarecrows. Of course, you're always wrong and you get fear toxin again. Rocksteady designed new fight animations for that one scene just to make him more
brutal.
And you see all the militia like panic.
Yeah.
And the first time I don't think I realised how brutal it is, and then the second time you do it, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Of course, you end up using it again with Joker takedowns when you're fighting them all in
that's
outside Monmouth Theatre. But it uses them, it's like, one of them he breaks Joker's back, snaps his neck, he does multiple ones, it's there like, oh.
Yeah, it does like a whole like thing where he breaks the Joker's back over his knee, like kind of like what Bane does to him.
And that shows how much he is holding back.
Yeah.
Which is scary. The last thing to happen in the first 30 minutes is the Joker ends up showing that Frank Bowles is one of his men and has knocked out Gordon.
Yeah.
Now, something which has been hinted at a few times is him drinking with his whiskey flask, and of course Batman, being the world's greatest detective, is able to use detective mode and analyse it. How do you think this element works with Batman in this game, not just here but throughout the whole game and the franchise?
It works very well because I feel like that's an introduction to the use of the detective vision or detective mode, because and that's used throughout the whole thing. It's like in not even just at that one point as well. You get you track the tobacco that was dropped from Gordon. You track the blood that the mayor had after the mayor was hit by Harley Quinn. In the second game, you have to track the what's she called, the one of the League of Assassins' blood. So you know you do that all like throughout the entire game. You know, so I feel like that's a great way to introduce how the mechanics of the game, but also like you just kind of more emphasise about how good of a detective Batman is.
Do you think, and there's a heavy criticism some say about the game, is you spend more time in detective mode than you do out of detective mode? Do you think that is true, or do you think it's like...
I don't know, because I feel like I only really use people only really use detective mode in stealth missions. I mean, because like obviously other than that, or maybe like in the Arkham Knight, especially when you've gone to a militia thing, like a militia checkpoint or a militia tower, or that's actually they're like the only two where it's like kind of arena. But like you obviously use it just to check how many people there are, where the people are. But most of them, like I said, are stealth as well. So yeah, I feel like the game does heavily base itself on stealth because it is a Batman game and Batman does like to strike from the shadow. So I wouldn't necessarily like say it's bad things. You know, I feel like it makes it kind of better.
I mean, I'll always remember the moment of realisation after playing 3 Batman games, pressing left button for detective mode, and I hit Arkham Knight, and it's the up on the D-pad. I've still not got used to that because whenever I go back to the others, I've been pressing left button, and now I go back to that one. It's like, oh, that calls the Batmobile.
Yeah, they changed that because they had to change the mechanics so you could call the Batmobile.
They did it with the detonation of explosive gel as well.
Yeah.
They changed it to right on the D-pad instead of right button, which still messes with me. And the amount of times I've pressed right button and gone, it's the wrong button, and but also something else like with detective mode. Like you were saying, it works as the Batman fantasy. Like, you're Batman, what's the first thing he's going to do? He's going to survey the room.
Yeah.
He even mentions it a few times in Arkham City where he says, got to survey the room. Okay, there's these targets, they're going there, they're going there. That's how Batman would work. He wants to know where everyone is.
Yeah, exactly, so because it makes it easy for him.
Now, I understand some people don't like to be on it at all times. Something that I've realised I do, is you press it on, you check, it's off. It's very muscle memory. But I don't see a problem with someone having it on at all times, because that's probably something Batman would do, and it's
like
a game
if
mechanic.
Like if you try and take out someone, you want to make sure there's no one behind them, or no one will just like no one's going towards them or something, so you can actually take them out peacefully. It's sort of without getting shot at or attacked.
Yeah, I think I've probably learnt that, like the button pressing, from when I decided to go, let's see how quickly I can do all the games, just go through the stories.
Yeah.
And when you're having to take everyone out with speed,
Yeah.
you're there, 1, 2, okay, there, up, there, done. And by the end of it, you're like, okay, I have done 0 silent takedowns. Everyone has just been scared to death and took out in a minute. And it's whether you keep on pressing it. I think, because I did that and then I got to night, the amount of times, the one where you don't have the Batmobile for a minute, because it's connected to the antenna to find Ace Chemicals.
Yeah.
You can't use the Batmobile right now. I don't want to use the Batmobile. You can't use the Batmobile right now. He keeps on saying that. I'm like, I don't want to use it. I keep on pressing the wrong button.
Yeah.
And it was all about, like, you get used to it, them going through the game, then you go back, it's like, oh, it's left button again.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you. So, how long did that end up going? Okay, gone. 31 minutes. Yeah. So, thank you.